Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you another installment of, well, what do you do now? So, Aeldari got hit pretty hard on the balanced data slate and MFM, but it was more so targeted to taming Devoted of Your Need. So you have Devoted of Your Need, Strength from Death Detachment rule. At the end of your opponent's shooting phase, if one or more Ynnari units from your army were destroyed this phase, select one Ynnari infantry or mounted from your army that was within 6 inches of your destroyed unit. Now, that unit can make a normal move of up to d6 plus 1. So you no longer just to roam about the cabin once anything dies. You have to be close to it, and it's d6 plus 1 on the normal move. Then next, you have Yvrain taking a hit. Herald of Ynnari ability. Herald of Ynnari at the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within engagement range of this model. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Aeldari model makes an attack that targets that unit, you can reroll a wound roll of 1. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't share the opinion that it got completely obliterated. That it's not still pretty strong. Like I feel like once everybody does that thing where they go, wait, getting a normal move of up to d6 plus 1 by being close is still pretty strong. Now don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near as strong as it was, but yeah, I think this is still a serviceable detachment. It's just not bonkers like it kind of was. And kind of the same to your brain too. I just feel that reroll wound rolls of 1 is still a decent roll, so it's whatever. But coming over here to the points, they did take some more hits with the Incarn going up, the Archon, and the Incubi. Now to this point, even going to the Yvrain thing a little bit more, uh, there were Ynnari lists that literally just pick and choose between the Incarn or Yvrain. So I feel like going to the Incarn for 10 more points doesn't seem the worst to me. Now, the points on top of Fire Dragon spam and Howling Banshee spam, yeah, that's a bit, unfortunate, but I think the detachment is still serviceable, especially because the stratagems are, fine, fair, and as I put out one video, again, not to think that people would do it, but the sky is kind of the limit on what you can include in Devoted of Your Need. It turns out that damn near everything gets the keyword when you go in there, so that means Wraith Knight, Fire Prisms that just got cheaper, uh, a lot of shit, can just benefit from the detachment. So, I don't know, I just think it's a matter of time before people find another build that just doesn't spam a million MSU units and say, well, I just get to play the game all the time. But here's the other thing, if you're still filling the board with MSU Eldar, you'll be within 6 inches. So, neither here nor there, I guess. But not to say that I think people are overreacting. I do think it was a proportionate nerf that you just go, wow, they did a lot, but I don't think it's nearly as unplayable as some would lead you to believe. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, well, it was part of what we're talking about today. It sets up everything. But the focus, rather, is that what do you do now? Inevitable nerfs come to something that's overperforming, right? And what's the pivot now? Now, previously, I looked at the talkings of when the Codex first released that Wind Riders were a little Wind Rider host, excuse me, was a little bit better. It was a little bit doing that thing. Then taking a look at Spirit Conclave, just because if I were to be an Eldar player, that's where I would go with it. That's the part of Eldar that fascinate me. But a close runner-up and one that I think we all kind of expected to be the main hitter, Aspect Host. It's kind of hard to not just default and say, well, giving things reroll hit rolls of 1 or wound rerolls of 1. Yeah, I think that's just a flat out good rule, kind of no matter what happens past that. And when you have some of the data sheets that you do, I think you just come over here. So don't get me wrong, certain builds will be more expensive. So, spamming Fire Dragons and Howling Banshees, again, will be more expensive. But I do want to talk about a couple of things with aspect host that I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit more hope to this being a build that is found. The stratagems, at first, I don't know how I feel about the stratagems, and I know that people don't necessarily love this aspect of what I'm about to talk about, but I do think sometimes stratagems get better. Well, no shit, but stratagems do get better and worse depending on what the meta looks like. But currently, Death Guard has a lot of modifiers and are doing things just what Warrior Focus says you can ignore modifiers. That's pretty good. They also have chunky shit. And this one is more of a time sensitive one. With Chaos Knights coming out soon, there will be more Chaos Knights on the table. Will they be that good? TBD. Some people really don't think so. Other people think that if the points are what they say that they might be, they will be. And I can't fault anybody for putting six big knights on the table and then calling it a day. But go into something like the Avatar of Cain. I think you do. Spoiler. I think you do kind of consider the Avatar of Cain just so you could get some flat 8 damage somewhere somehow. Fight on Death is cool. We're talking about preternatural preternatural precision. I actually have I ever read this? I don't know. Where you could get ignore, cover, lethal hits, sustained hits one. Kane's Vengeance, Skyborn Sanctuary, Skyborn. If you're going to do the transport thing, again, fine. But I, I personally, I don't feel that you need too many transports in this detachment. But it might be handy to have and Kane's Vengeance. Now, please, again, correct me if you feel about a different way about transports. I know everybody was just like, yeah, Wave Rider, uh, Wave Rider, excuse me, Wave Serpent, Wave Rider, Wave Serpent, shenanigans, Star Engines, pop out Fire Dragons. Got it, all of that jazz. But I think, I don't think that's something that like is Plan A. I think it's like Plan C maybe. Kane's Vengeance, it's cool, right? You can, within engagement range, desperate escape test if somebody tries to leave. Battle Shock do it at -1. So there's pretty decent things at aspect host. But, the flat out good detachment rule in combination with the data sheets is, I think, the thing that makes it most important here. So starting off, Avatar of Cain. I am a Cain sympathizer. Okay. My name is Mr. Monster. Nice to meet you if you're new around here. So, needless to say, I like the inclusion of monsters. Avatar of Cain is a pretty decent model, and, besides that, I think there actually might be real application to including the Avatar now. If we're looking at T11 being the new T12, uh, Avatar of Cain was ahead of the curve. Went down to T11, 2 up, save 4 up, invuln 14 wounds. Now, the 14 wounds is a bit shaky, but I think they kind of played it safe. I would argue you could go up to 16 wounds on Cain, because you no longer have -1 to wound available from the Psyker. But Molten Form, each time an attack is allocated to this model, have the damage characteristic of that attack. The game does have a lot of high damage things right now. And usually, what I'm about to say is a terrible game plan. And it might still be a terrible game plan if I'm being honest. But 300 points for the Avatar of Cain being a big, hey, look at me target, I think is kind of fine right now. Because you're playing Aeldari that have battle focus, and because of that, the second that your attention is drawn away from something that might actually still live, you now have something that Eldari, for the more or less, kind of have a problem with, which is board presence, right? Um, Going back to the Wave Serpent thing, if now you are getting your getting we'll just say for now, we'll go into it in a bit, but your aspect warriors across the table and in places to get lines for reroll ones, whether that be hit or wound, while your opponent really just said, hey, I've got to take out Kane because he might take out my big thing, maybe. And at the same time, I don't know if you necessarily want to tussle with Kane because he does still get battle focus and he's not Titanic. So You can swift as the wind. You, I mean, sudden strike doesn't really apply here. I mean, I guess you could consolidate somehow, some way, but like shit like that. Opportunity seized, one eligible unit from your army that isn't Titanic at start of phase within engagement range of that enemy can make a normal move up to D6+1 when your enemy tries to fall back away from Kane. So, trying to get away from something or something trying to get away from Kane still might not be able to do it just to put more pressure on the board. Now, again, I just think the game might need more, hey, look at me targets right now. Something that is slightly imposing to somebody, like to somebody. And now, correct me if I'm wrong. Avatar of Cain can fade back, right? And your opponent shooter phase just after an enemy unit has shot one eligible unit from your army that isn't Titanic that was hit by one or more of those attacks can make a normal move of up to D6+1. So if we were just giving Ynnari guff for moving, not who am I kidding? That is not nowhere near equivalent. But Avatar of Cain having or sorry, not -1, half damage, um, and then having access to a reactive move. People are finding out that with Mortarion, that's actually kind of goofy. So I think there's some play, not just damage output wise, because you might actually need to use this sweep more often than not, especially in here, where again you could get the ignore mods and just 12 attacks, 8/2/2, re-rolling hits, possibly re-rolling wounds, whichever one you need at the moment. That's fine. But just to chop through some bullshit that's that's been brewing in the scene. So, Avatar of Cain, I think I vibe with the inclusion. I think just the threat of having a single damage 8 attack that you can reroll, and it has sustained his D3. Now, I still don't love that you can no longer just throw a fate dice at him and, get 4 shots. I wish that was still some way to be in here, but to that point, I'm not too entirely sure about aspect shrine tokens in the sense that I don't know. I feel like there's something missing where somebody's going to find a funky way to do something that I don't know. I just feel like Avatar of Cain hasn't been explored enough because of all the things with Ynnari that we aren't seeing something even better to just make him feel like a threat. Even though GW doesn't want him to feel like a threat apparently, but the Avatar of Cain, for starters, does get my shout. Next up, that gets my shout. It might be their time to shine. Shining Spears. Yeah, I remember the Codex came out and people kind of flipped shit a little bit about the Shining Spears. They're like, oh my gosh, each time this unit makes a normal advance, fallback, or charge move, ignore any vertical distance when determining the total distance models in this unit can be moved during that move. Yeah, just go through shit. Shining Spears mounted, Aeldari fly. So 14-inch movement, T4, which is good for the elves. Save of 3 up, 5 up invuln, 3 on the Exarch for wounds, 2 on all the other Shining Spears. Now, do I think that they are amazing? No. 110 points is not a price point that I love, but I will say this. Everybody laughs until the Screamers got involved. I looked at that shit and said, no, that's kind of goofy. That as a Tyranid player, that that looks goofy. People are like, yeah, but it's Screamers, da 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 da. And then people are getting punched in the mouth by Screamers. So, taking that to Anti-Monster 3 and Anti-Vehicle 3 and Lance, I think while everybody wants to, make their yokes and everything, Aspect Host giving you reroll wound rolls of 1 for Lance and Anti-Monster Anti-Vehicle 3 up. Yeah, because they are check. Let's see that aspect warriors. Yeah, they are aspect warriors. So I do think that that's just an avenue that needs to be explored a little bit more. So everybody might be a little bit remiss about Howling Banshees getting hit. Shining Spears came down, and quite frankly, I think that that's something that people should be a little bit more concerned about. 220 for 6. I don't know if you go the full 6-man bricks of these, because that is like some amount of board space. Oh, also, speaking of board space, I had a little funny laugh that I realized that the Avatar of Cain is on a smaller base than a Screamer Killer Carnifex. Screamer Killer's on 90. Norns are on 100. Avatar of Cain, 80. So while people want to talk about maneuvering things on the board, I suck it, I guess. But going through Signing Spears, they're on 60 millimeter flying bases, which is better. I guess it could be ovals, um, or goofy ovals, right? But putting down a couple of shining spears, I do think that you take maybe at least 220 points worth, but I don't know if you dedicate one entire brick to it just to get them in, right? But shining spears, everybody laughed at the screamers and then found out there wasn't shit funny. So I think shining spears, throw them in the list. They just benefit from being in here. Full stop. You can make it so that they don't have any negative mods towards hit, so that you can still just get them through hitting on threes. It's kind of a little bit goofy, and they do have gun. I'm not going to say that it's good gun, but they do have gun that also has assault. So if you want to move a little bit more, there's that. But yeah, they have gun. They have pressure, things that you need playing Aeldari. I almost said Ynnari, but yeah, I think I think Shining Spears bring him out. And now going to one that people again kind of just let fall off, surprisingly to me. But I think it's again because everybody was just playing the detachment where you can't take named characters, um, Lycus, or a name that isn't Ynnari, right? Lycus. This one was, besides being a pretty awesome model, 12 inches of move, T3, 2 up save, 4 up invul, 5 wounds. You have the ambush thing, but that requires the warp spiders. We'll talk about that in a second. Whispering web in your shooting phase after this model has shot. Select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks until the end of the turn. Each time a friendly Aeldari model makes an attack that targets that unit, an unmodified hit roll of 5 up scores a critical hit. Yeah, anybody in your shooting phase and you're playing something that can uppy downy, right? Like that's a little bit much. Warp spiders giving you in your movement phase each time the unit is selected to move. I'm sorry, I guess uppy downy is not technically right. I can only say that for the Baharroth's unit. But in your movement phase, each time this unit is selected to make a normal move, it can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the turn, this unit is not eligible to declare a charge, and its models have a move characteristic of 24 inches. Each time this unit uses this ability at the end of the phase, roll 1d6 for each model in this unit. For each one, this unit suffers one mortal wound. So every one that you take, you are losing a warp spider. You kind of got them to spare compared to other aspect warriors. Okay, maybe not compared to others, but you kind of got them to spare. 190 for 10 models of these. Again, don't think you're taking the full brick, but that's not that bad. But coming back to Lycus, uh, with the Empiric Ambush, while this model is leading a unit, that unit is eligible to declare charge in a turn in which it used its Flicker Jump ability. So 24 inches of movement and then a charge? Yeah, I know that we all like the Howling Banshees. And I know that Warp Spiders are good. In fact, there were quite a few devoted of your needless that did take uh three squads of Warp Spiders. But at the end of the day, between Warp Spiders and Shining Spears, right now it's looking like Aspect Host has fast movement to hit, which goes back to what I was talking about the Avatar of Cain, where just for a turn, if something that is 300 points goes down, but it took your opponent a little bit more than they thought that it did, and everybody else has this. Now, mind you, Lycus is Phoenix Lord, epic hero, so you can only have one unit of this. But the other two, just being able to get shots down, and again, making it so that you crit on fives for Lycus's unit. After Lycus shoots, a unit takes crits on fives from the entire Aeldari army. That's pretty solid. So, I would like to see Lycus get back in the mix. It's a pretty sick model. They did a pretty good job. Shining Spears, I think we just need to see more of them. I know everybody flipped shit, and I know everybody just went straight to devoted if you need because movement. But guess what? You have the movement here too. So, uh, doesn't even really need to matter what the gun and the melee is for Lycus, but it's pretty decent too. Brood Twain ignores cover, torrent, twin linked, 12 inches. That's pretty good for a flamer that you just moved 24 with. Uh, D6 plus 3, and I know it's not amazing. That's like standard flamer range, but sometimes we get 6-inch flamers and whatnot. So I'm just saying that that's still good. That's a 36-inch threat range. Uh, it's a flamer, so it auto hits. Strength 6, AP 2, damage 1. You could be re-rolling the wound rolls of 1 here. Spider's Fangs, extra attacks, lethal hits. Melee 5 attacks hitting on 2s, 4, 2, 1. Weave Render, lethal hits, hitting on 5s, 2, hitting on 2, 6, 2, 2. And again, because you are playing Aspect Host, each time an Aspect Warriors or Avatar of Cain unit from your army is selected to shoot or fight, you can select one, reroll hit roll, or reroll wound roll. So I do like the freedom that in shooting, you can reroll the wound rolls with some warp spiders, get the flamers in there, and then when it comes to the fight phase, switch on back to just rerolling hits for lethal hits. Again, after doing a 24-inch movement charge. And, I mean, battle focus, I'm not sure you would ever need this, but Swift as the Wind, when an eligible unit from your army is selected to make a normal da 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 da, right, until the end phase, add 2 to the move. So you can become 26 inches. And I don't think that you need the other 2 inches, but it is just insane to think about for a second that, hey, you can really just fucking send it at somebody a turn that you need to. And, just right back here at the War Spiders, Aspect Shrine tokens, once per battle for each Aspect Shrine token that unit has, you can change the results of one hit or one wound roll for a model in this unit to an unmodified 6. So, get those lethal hits through. Aspect Shrine tokens, maybe you save them, maybe you don't, but it is to say that you have those to activate lethal, sustains, whatever you have on your Aspect units. For the most part, do Shining Spears have it? I actually don't know. Okay, they don't. So maybe that's one knock against them that they don't have shrine tokens, but really I don't think it matters that much. Next, Dire Adventures. More so as a placeholder for fire dragons, in the fact that I know you're going to look at it and go, but my fire dragons, they went up. It's a little bit more expensive. Dire Avengers are 80 points. They have ranged weapons equipped. Sorry, Blade Storm. Ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit have sustained hits 1 ability while targeting an enemy unit within half range. They have Assault. Uh, so within half range, that's 6 inches, 9 inches. Again, this could be that point of when you do the Wave Serpent thing and start engines across the fucking table. Drop out some Dire Avengers. But to that point, sustained hits 1, rerolling hit rolls of 1, and uh, preternatural precision. Your shooting phase, if you take out an Aspect Shrine token, you get sustain, lethal, and ignore cover all on one unit, and if it's after Lyca shot them, on 5s. That's pretty darn good. So, it's a lot more work than just simply going fire dragons, go. But a cheaper, I don't want to say alternative, because it's not guaranteed to take everything down. We're looking at, steel damage 1, AP 1. So it's not the most threatening unit ever, but it is still a little bit more. It will definitely punch up more than people expect. 80 for 5, that's pretty good. That's like pretty cheap. You could kind of toss it away. And you still have the option to attach to an autarch, just to make it so that the cost is reduced by 1. Now, the autarch did go up, right? Did go up 10 points. That's fine. It happens. But, that's instead of having to worry about just Azerman's unit being the only one doing anything. Tactical acumen. Well, this model is a leading unit in your shooting phase. After that unit has shot, it can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. If it does, can't charge. Cool, that's nice. Hand of Azrian. Once per battle, when this model is selected to shoot, it can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, its Bloody Twinge weapon has a damage characteristic of 3, and the anti-infantry 5 up and devastating wounds abilities. That's 6 attacks. Uh, Rerolling wound rolls of 1 if you want to go for that, right? Just saying. Just saying. Dev wounds. Anti infantry 5 up. It's kind of cute and we kind of laugh at it, but I do think there's a real world. Whereas this is a like shot call and a half. I actually don't think that this will happen because not too many people like to. I don't even know what the term is for this, but or I don't want to say experiment because it's not even an experiment. It's right there. Either way, I don't know what's up where people keep kind of. I understand Dark Angels have a bad codex, and again, not to raise the alarms and fearmonger about it, and I say again because I did a Wrath of the Rock video where I kind of say the same, but I still think people are going to be caught off guard by things like Wrath of the Rock Dark Angels, and it's not being caught off guard by Death Guard. We know that Death Shroud Terminators are tanky, but I do think anti infantry might be a very real thing you might have to consider. And if I'm being honest, here's the early preview for the elves for some odd reason. You all get this. I am actually considering a toxic green and subterranean assault if things proceed as they're going, just for rerolling hits anti infantry 2 up, right? So I'm just saying, you might want to consider actually delving into this part. I know Azerman isn't the greatest, 135 points, but I don't know. There's a time and place for every model, right? Already talked about Artark, striking Scorpions, because Artark can lead them. If you're really missing Howling Banshees, I think that's sustained and doing all the things isn't too bad of a trade off. Now, it they aren't the best anymore, and they don't have their leader, and he's actually so good at stealth that I am blanking on the Striking Scorpions leader. Goodness. Oh man. Oh nope. Sorry. We got to do this because now I can't think about his name right now. Goodness. Karandras. Golly. Sorry for blanking right there. But yeah, Karandras isn't in. So actually that'd be really funny if I'm wrong and it's not Karandras. Okay, thank goodness. Yeah, so Striking Scorpions are no longer have Karandras to make another threatening unit, but just making a Autark make something free to still get sustained hitch 1 type shit to boost up a little bit is even better. Manda Blast is each time a Malin's unit makes a melee attack. If it made a charge move this turn, an unmodified hit roll of a 5 upscores a critical hit. So again, crits on 5s, looking at Striking Scorpions, looking at Lycus dishing that out in a detachment that you are getting rerolls out the ass, and possibly with Aspect Shrine tokens changing things to 6s, I think isn't the worst expenditure of your time. And then finally, just because this is funny, and I had no clue that this was the case, a Crimson Hunter is an Aspect Warrior. Do I expect you to put a Crimson Hunter in your list? No, but it is kind of funny to think that Sky Hunter, each time this model makes a ranged attack, the target's a unit that can fly. Add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. And you come equipped with 2-star cannons that can become 2 Bright Lancers, a Pulse Laser, and the Wraithbone Hull. Looking at the Bright Lancers, they do Bright Lance shit. 36 ounces, 1 attack, hitting on 3, strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 2. 160 points. I've seen worse flyers for more expensive points. Just if you want to bring out a Crimson Hunter because you own it, I'm just saying, apparently it is an Aspect Warrior. I don't think I knew that, or if I did, I forgot. Sorry, I don't play elves. I don't play Eldari. So, just funny that that's something that happens over here in Aspect Host. That technically, and not even technically, just straight up, you could just put a Crimson Hunter and benefit from it somehow. I mean, the rerolls, that's definitely one. Maybe you feel that you want different punching power to help Avatar of Cain get through tougher targets. Maybe. But yeah, just to say, I've seen worse 160 points be spent, and this is funny. So yeah, that's kind of it. I think that Aspect Host, like no shit, it's pretty decent. I don't think that's a no-brainer to anybody, but I know everybody's kind of jumping around right now. Ynnari got hit. I'm seeing talks of Guardian Battle Host being decent, Ghost of the Webway being decent. Spirit Conclave still seems to be struggling, and Wind Rider Host. I don't know what happened with that. Again, everybody was like, "Yeah, Wind Rider Host actually is probably the sickest one," and then people realized what Ynnari actually said. So that's cool. But just to say, Aspect Host, I think it'd be pretty darn good, and I would like to see Kane on the table, even though I don't play elves. So yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment, and until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.